Hi, everyone. My name is Vicky Liogier. I'm National Head of EdTech and Digital Skills at the Education and Training Foundation. And I'm delighted to be with you today. I understand that Professor Nurul Huda cannot compare with me on this occasion, so I'm going to be delivering the session from a single point, although I know that Ramiz Ume is here to support me in the background. So we're going to, let me have a look at the chat, and we're going to be using a range of tools. So it's going to be quite an interactive session, and it's important for you to participate as much as you can, if this is okay with you. So the session, before I start the session, which is on holistic approach to digital capabilities, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Education and Training Foundation that I work for. So we are the expert body for professional development and standards in further education and training in England. And if you're not sure what further education is about, then it is very much about vocational education and training. So it's the post-16 education with the main segment of our learners in that sector are going to be the 16 to 19 years old. But obviously there's no age and it can go up to more than 100 if so should it be. So let me continue. And before we start the workshop, we're going to go to Jamboard. So Ramiz, would you mind sharing the link to the Jamboard in the chat? Let me see if I can copy it and share it with everyone. Here we go. Actually, I'm fine. I've just managed to share it. So everyone, if you don't mind going to the Jamboard, and you just click on it, and I'm going to take you through on how to use it. The Jamboard session will be very short. It's going to be a 3-minute, but we're going to interact various talks with your contributions to those talks and feeding back. So I'm going to escape. Here we go. Oop, sorry. And I'm going to go to the Jamboard. And hopefully you're going to be able to join the Jamboard as well. And in this first slide, so how to navigate, if you're not familiar with Jamboard, you can click, I don't know if you've noticed, right at the top here, you've got the number of slides. And if you click on here, you'll be able to navigate very easily to the slide that we need. And then on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, sorry, you've got the tools to interact with that content. So you've got the sticky notes here, and this is where you need to say what it is that you hope to get out of this session. What it is. And I'll put ... to go a bit. And then you simply save. You can change the color of that note, and you can place it where it is that you want. I believe not many people are actually joining the session, and I can only see 2 participants. So it's a very small session, but hopefully we can make it worthwhile, and we can therefore make it more personalized to your own needs and what it is that you would like to find out from this session. And I'll be happy to respond to your queries. So I'm conscious of time. So if you would like to post something, just try it out. You need to go onto the Jamboard, and you've got the link in the chat. You just need to click on this link, and once you're on there, you can add a note to that first slide. Okay, so I'll wait another 30 seconds It's best not to access the Jamboard from your mobile phone, and it is better to access it using desktop, laptop, a tablet, so that the screen is a bit larger. Okay, so I'll give you another 15 seconds, and if you don't post anything, that's fine. We can just go back to the slide deck, and I will continue that presentation. We're going to be moving across a range of platforms, and I hope this is going to be as interactive as possible. Don't be shy, we're all here to learn. I can put my video on as well. I don't know if you can see me. Here we go. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation, and I'm going to be talking to you about normality and education, first of all, as a quick introduction. The aim of the session is very much to give you an overview of the critical factors to driving change within an organization and supporting it with digital capability. And first of all, we're going to be defining what normality is and how and what it means in terms of education, then the world that we live in terms of what digital capabilities are all about and the meaning that they're going to take over the next few years, and then how to optimize support, both at short and long term, and concludes on that presentation and have time for Q&A. We'll have Q&A sessions across the different sort of sections within the different points within this presentation. And then we've got some post-session activities and opportunity for you to feedback as well on perhaps further development and how we can communicate on those. So normality and education. Well, have you noticed how recently we've been referring to normality? And it's been quite important because we've all lived through quite challenging times with the pandemic, for instance. And in terms of education, it's presented several challenges. And it is fair for us to want to go back to normal in some ways. And it's about not wearing masks, it's about meeting friends and socializing, meeting our family and being able to travel everywhere and anywhere. But many of us are also talking about the new normal. But what does normality mean? And normality is very much about referring to a standard. And but how do we establish the standards? Well, establishing the standard with the Met Office in the UK is very much looking at the last 30 years averages, for instance, at the Met Office, and to standardize the weather and decide whether it is above or below average temperature, rainfall, and so on. And I know that all of us are experiencing non-average levels of temperature and rainfall at the moment. So how does this translate in education? Well, we know that the responsibility of all of us working in education is very much to equip learners with the knowledge and skills they need to secure a place at a university, start an apprenticeship, or find a job. But the purpose of education is, of course, far broader. Our role is not only to make knowledge and skills stick, but most importantly, to nurture the development of independent thinkers, whatever their age may be. And you'll see here a quote by Alison Gopnik about us not being just carpenters and building scaffolds and sequencing and so on, but also being nurturers and gardeners and fostering that sort of self-confidence. Sorry, I'm looking at my chat and I see that I need to click on the slideshow. So I hope you can see my slideshow. And if you can't, do let me know in the chat. Thank you very much. So how does this translate in education? Because obviously all of us are looking at if standards and norms are based on the last 30 years, and if our remit as educators is to support learners to make sense of the world, and if standards and norms are based on the last 30 years, I'm repeating myself, what did the world look like in 1991, for instance, or 1992? Did technologies already have a place? Well, in the UK, government agencies and private organizations began using computers from the 1950s. But it is really the internet that really changed the world in the 1980s. In 1984, the first Mac computer was released, and in 95, both eBay and Amazon were released. And then in 96, that's when the browsers war began. I don't know if you remember Alta Vista, but I certainly do. So what is normal for a 16 to 19 years old? Because as I said early on, in the further education sector, it's really that kind of age group that we are thinking about. So what did the world look like in 2002? Well, you must remember this beautiful ad, which was about the first iPod, which was released in 2001. And the iPod did not just change the way we listen to music, it also changed the whole music industry. And in the UK currently, the EdPod is currently being advertised, and it's a nice glimpse towards or quote towards the old iPod advert. In 2007 also, a touchscreen revolutionized the world of mobile technology with the iPhone. It was an iPod, a camera, a web browsing with web browsing capabilities, and it started moving us to that sort of a little cloud world. So it's time for change, isn't it? But change is not new. In 3 to 4 generations in the UK, the entire farming industry went from being the dominant employment in the country, with a third of the active population, to just roughly about 1% today. So we are in the fourth industrial revolution, and it will displace skills like previous industrial revolution did in the past. Balfour Beatty is predicting a human-free construction site by 2050, while Daniel Susskind forecast an evolution towards a world without work. So since digital technologies are now part of our lives and that they are not going away, it is time for us to really proactively build our digital capabilities. But what are they and how to define them at a high level? Well, this is our second activity on the Jamboard. Now, if we go to the Jamboard, we're going to be able to navigate through it. You'll find the Jamboard here. And if you click here, you will be able to go into this activity where you can start posting what it is that you think define digital capabilities, how to define them at a high level, and what are the three types of digital capabilities to consider. So it is those that you need to take into consideration. And add your sticky note. You're going to pick it up from the right-hand side here. You can choose a different color if you want to, and sort of say what you think those digital capabilities are all about. I've got a very shy audience today, so we're going to move on, and the session might be a little bit shorter than initially anticipated. It is very much an interactive session, so without your participation, we will shorten it by probably a good half an hour. But here we go. Let's continue. I can move back to our slideshow, and I will turn on the slideshow so that it is easier for you, and move into the definition of digital capabilities. And those definitions are about the free, so they're taken by JISC, and JISC defined the free, the digital capabilities for an organization are the skills and attitudes that individuals and organizations need if they are to thrive in today's world. And at an individual level, they're very much those capabilities that we need to equip someone to live, learn, and work in a digital society. Now, there are three types of digital skills to consider. First of all, the basic, essential digital skills that we need to live, work, and study in a plus 2018 world. So 21st century, very much so. And then as educators in the further education and training sector, that is, we need those vocational digital skills that are specialist to an industry. So what are they? For instance, if we are a graphic designer or an illustrator, then we will need to be very familiar with Photoshop in, well, Adobe Suite. So Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, for instance. If we are working in a different field, such as accountancy, then we will need obviously Excel, and we will need Sage, for instance. So as you see, you're going to have specialist digital skills, which are very much linked to our profession. And then, of course, as educators and educators with a dual professionalism, then we're also looking at education technologies and edtech. So it's very much how educators are, and practitioners are sort of using and harnessing new technologies to enhance teaching, learning, and assessment. So, how can we optimize support? Well, optimizing support is very much about, if we're looking at this bell curve, it's very much about looking at the normal distribution of digital capability within a typical FE and training provider or your organization. And if we are looking at this bell curve, you can see that typical sort of distribution. Then, of course, optimizing support is about raising the minimum standard and pushing that bell shape curve towards the right-hand side. Then it's obviously about shifting the average performers, and also, of course, it's about stretching the top of the curve so that we can have a slightly different bell curve. So how do we do this? Well, before we can answer this question, it's very much about our ability to understand, our ability to learn. And learning is about the process of gaining knowledge and skills through studying. But our ability to study very much depends on different factors. First of all, intrinsic, extrinsic, and other factors. So intrinsic is everything that we have within ourselves, such as motivation, confidence. Extrinsic will be the external drivers and factors, such as social factors, our gender, our age, our education and skills attainment, for instance, whether we are employed or unemployed, and so on. And then, of course, other factors are very important. But when we are thinking about learning, it's important for us also to think that learning is not only an individual concern, but very much it's about promoting the right condition to foster engagement. So again, it's another Jamboard activity. And it would be great if you could post just 1 or 2 words on there. So if you have a look in the chat, you've got the link to the Jamboard. And in there, you're going to be, so I'm going to escape my presentation right now. Here we go. I'm going to go to my Jamboard and see whether we can post some post-it in terms of the activities there. The main barriers to learning. Are you aware of any barriers to learning? So link to that Jamboard. I'll post it again in the chat. Here we go. Here we go. So all you need to do is to click on that link. It will take you to the Jamboard. You will arrive on the first page here. And you will be able to move across by clicking on this here. Alternatively, you can move across using your keyboard. And on there, it's about picking up a sticky note and add a sticky note. So time, for instance, is a major barrier to learning. What other barriers do you know about? Skills? No, let's say confidence. Our level of confidence is going to make a real difference to our ability to learn, and not being afraid of making mistakes and not be shy to ask questions. So we all learn by making mistakes and by falling. We learn to walk by falling quite a few times, by trying, by being on four legs in the first instance, and then standing up, falling, and so on. Not afraid to make a mistake. And there's going to be obviously a financial aspect to our ability to learn, whether we can afford it. Can we afford to take the time? Can we afford, do we have a family to look after, and so on? So I'll move back to my presentation. And as I was saying, learning is not just an individual concern. It's very much about, if we are working in education, it's about promoting the right condition to foster engagement. And if we are looking at those conditions, then what is it that we can do at short term? Well, the Enhance was designed, and the Enhance digital teaching platform was designed to remove barriers to engagement. It was it is a mobile-first design platform. So what does it mean? Well, it means that it is responsive and adaptive to whatever device you access it from. It is it has been, we've removed the barrier of access, so you don't need to sign up. It's totally free to access. And we've developed it using a user-centered design process because we wanted it to be as personalized as possible and meeting the needs of our fellow teachers and educators and trainers. We know that time is a major barrier, and that's why we've actually developed bite-sized training modules. Yep. And we've got 175 bite-sized learning modules of 5 minutes each. They are pedagogy focused. Why? Because we wanted to remove technophobia from the forefront, so we don't talk digital skills. We talk about technology from a teacher's perspective on how it can be used to enhance teaching, learning, and assessment. You'll find it hopefully very inclusive. We've built very inclusive ethos within the platform, the learning content, the visuals, the different approaches to curriculum areas, regions, and so on. And then we've built gamification within that learning content. Why? Because okay, so Ramiz would like to be the host. So let me see. Oh, sorry about that. I need to interrupt. Apparently my connection is not very good. Is that true? Do you hear, is it breaking?
Ma'am, the connection is fine now. It was
Oh, is
bad
it
on my
now?
side. Yes, it is
Okay.
fine now.
Okay, fine.
Can-
Thanks. Thanks for confirming it is okay. So I'll continue. So achievement badges are important. Why? Because we've talked about the barriers to learning and building our self-confidence and recognizing our commitment to our self-development will make a real difference. And we've built badges across 3 stages of performance: exploring, adopting, and leading. And then finally, we're very keen on fostering communities of practice to promote social learning. Actually, I'll move into a slideshow. So on the enhanced digital learning ecosystem, we've got 2 CPD offers that are totally free to everyone to access. The first one is our EdTech program. It consists of 175 micro-learning modules of 5 minutes that are underpinned by the digital teaching professional framework. It is the ETF National Competency Framework for helping practitioners to define and assess their progress using EdTech to support effective teaching. And then the second program is the EDS program, Essential Digital Skills. And there are 20 modules of half an hour each. And these will help educators. They are underpinned, I mean, by the National Essential Digital Skills Standard. And it's very much to support staff that will be delivering essential digital skills to adults with no or low digital skills. And then finally, in the back end, you will find a management dashboard to help education providers to really strengthen their support framework within their organizations. Currently, there are more than 87,000 users, and of those, 15,000, more than 15,000 are registered. They have been using the platform with over 370,000 learning sessions and over 30,000 badges have been awarded. You cannot be awarded a badge, of course, if you are not registered. Then let's have a look at our EdTech program. Now, the EdTech program responds to our butterfly mind. What do I call a butterfly mind? Well, it's very much responding to our current immediacy mindset. I don't know about you, but if I don't know something, I tend to Google it. If I know, if I want to find out how to do something, I'm going to YouTube it. And not sure which part of the world you live in, but if I want to get a cab in the UK, I'll tend to Uber it. Now, we very much respond to that way of thinking. So if you want to know how to use new technologies in your delivery as an educator, then you need to enhance it. And that's the idea behind that butterfly approach. So this is the digital teaching professional framework. As you can see, it is structured in a linear manner across 7 competencies of the teacher's journey. But it's not meant to be approached in a linear manner. It's very much an aspirational framework. So think butterfly, you need something, you go into it as and when. There are 3 stages of performance. I've mentioned that a minute ago, but I'll repeat it. So in blue at the bottom here, you can see exploring stage. It's aimed at those of us who don't know anything about EdTech. Stage 2 is adopting, green, and it's very much aimed at most of us nowadays after that pandemic. We've all built on our digital skills, haven't we? So those of us who are already embedding some EdTech in our practice. And then, of course, stage 3 is leading stage. It's yellow, and it's aimed at those of us who are supporting others and who are feeling more confident about their EdTech use and able perhaps to critique what EdTech is better suited to a given learning practice. Now we've got a guide to EdTech and digital skills CPD, and you will be able to find that on our homepage, and you can scan the QR code. I will be sharing those slides post-session as well. And then there's different ways of sort of navigating across these framework. So I'm going to come out of the presentation and I'm going to go on to the enhanced digital teaching platform. When you log into it, you automatically get a personalized sort of homepage. And you can see here that you're going to have that link to the CPD program. And if I go into the EdTech and I look at the digital teaching professional framework, this is what we were looking at, then you can navigate through it as a butterfly, as previously mentioned, but also in perhaps an horizontal manner. So that would be going through exploring stage across all the 7 competencies. And you'll see that we have many exploring blue bar sort of stages. Remember, there are 175 micro-learning modules of 5 minutes each. And you will be able to gain that sort of basic understanding of how to use EdTech in your given learning activity. And then alternatively, you could very well decide to progress across one competency in a vertical manner. So that would be if I was to go into accessibility, for instance, it would be to navigate across exploring stages, adopting stages, and then leading stages within competency F on accessibility. So you're navigating it through in a progressive manner by going deeper in terms of the stages of performance. And then finally, what you can do is navigate through it in a kind of snake and ladder type of progression. So what does it mean? It's thinking about it in terms of narrative progression, in terms of theme. So we've got altogether 7 progression routes already developed. And you can see here, for instance, the collaborative working. So if I was to share this, then we would be looking at, obviously, an introduction, and then a collaboration between teachers. And you've got how many? You've got 5 modules dedicated to collaborating across with colleagues within your organization or outside of your organization. And then if you wanted to collaborate with your learners, there are 2 modules which are dedicated to collaboration between teachers and learners. And then finally, it's about developing learners' collaborative skills and among themselves. And you're going to see here that we've got 4 modules that we've identified across 175 dedicated to developing learners' collaboration. And you'll see that in the back end, we've got a reflection. And for us, critical reflection is critical. Critical reflection is critical. That's fairly silly on my part to say that, but here we go. So we actually built critical reflection in the back end of everything we do on the Enhanced Digital Teaching Platform, and I'll show you that in a minute. So let me summarize. To navigate across the platform, the DTPF or our EdTech program, you can navigate horizontally by through a stage of performance, either at exploring, adopting, or leading stage, and you'll go through all the different competencies. Alternatively, you can navigate vertically. So, wait, before I move further, we've got 60-minute EdTech Teacher Starter, which does just that. So we've identified basically 12 critical modules to get started with EdTech. So if you have colleagues of yours within your organization, friends who don't know how to do use technologies to enhance teaching, learning, and assessment, then you've got 12 modules of 5 minutes each identified there, which will give you those sort of basic skills to build your confidence and open your mind to the world of possible. And then, of course, you can navigate through it vertically. Do you remember we went through that accessibility, and it's going through all the 3 stages of performance, exploring, adopting, and leading within one competency. And then finally, we've mentioned that theme-based progression, which is very much a snake and ladder. And you've seen that we've got 7 progression routes, narrative progression routes available. And again, you've got the link and the QR code there that you can pick up in order to look at those. Then in the back end, it's really important I've mentioned that we've built a gamification, and gamification is important, not only from an individual viewpoint, of course, but from an organization viewpoint. The badging process really enables organizations to track CPD and provide localized support to upskill workforce. It really supports changes in curriculum delivery, planning for increasing learning offered online. And we've got 1-star badges and 2- and 3-star badges also available. Now, in the back end, we've mentioned that we've got strong ethos in reflective practice. And I was attending the session earlier on by David Bryan and Dr. Lovilia Di Valeracia, I'm afraid If I didn't pronounce it properly, I apologize, on their metacognitive session. And we're very much aligned in our sort of understanding and vision of the impact learning is having on practitioners. So why do we think that reflective practice is really important? Well, learning may be really enjoyable. However, if it doesn't change your behavior, or if it's not embedded in your practice, whatever it is that you're doing, then effectively that training will be meaningless. And it means that unless you reflect on the impact the training is having on your practice, it's not going to really be effective. So that's why we've really built reflective practice in the back end of what we do. And we've created support and guidance with a reflection scaffold, as well as theories and webinars to really support our colleagues in educators so that they can effectively reflect on how they can embed that 5 minutes bit of training, because we are talking micro-learning, aren't we? That 5 minutes bit of learning into their practice, and which is contextualized to their learning, to their learners. So that should be quite interesting. And we've got, as part of it, we've got an awarded practice wall. And you can see it here. We've got a hashtag. If you are tweeters, you'll be able to find it. And you can find it under the EdTech menu. And if you go onto awarded practices, then you will find our awarded practice wall. And that's where practitioners are going to be sharing what it is that they're doing. For instance, Chloe Hines has shared a resource with us that she's created to stimulate thinking about digital accessibility. And you'll see the reflection that she's made and the modules that have inspired her. And if I go into one of those modules, so if I go here, then you'll see that I've completed the module, but also you'll have the aim and the objective of this module, and you'll see which module, which reflections have been inspired by these modules. And if I click here, so Chloe is here because she's the latest, but if I click here, then I'll see other colleagues who have been inspired by this particular module. Okay, here we go. Let's go back to my presentation and we move on. And we've got, you won't be able to access she awarded reflection, or you won't be able to read all of it unless you are registered. It's because we've built social media functionalities in the back end of in the platform to really encourage that sort of a community and social framework for learning. So it's really based on the willingness to share ideas and experiments with things, as per Sharples in 2019. And it's about engaging with other practitioners through being a fellow practitioner and saying, wow, I like your practice and I like it because of A and B. And it's also asking that particular colleague, well, I'm really impressed of what you've done, but how do you think it would work within a different learning context? What should I do in order to make sure that my learners are going to enjoy this type of embedding of new technologies? So the social media functionalities will enable you to follow a practitioner. So if we go here, and if I go back to my homepage, you will see that I follow certain practitioners. I've got 15 bookmarks and I am following 28 practitioners. If I click here, I'll be able to see who those are. And then the likes that I've received, and I've got 6 followers. Okay. So those social media functionalities, we hope, are going to make a real difference. And we've embedded that across all our program. And we're going to be looking at essential digital skills in a minute. But before we move to essential digital skills, I just want to check whether there are any questions in from you. And if they are, great. If not, that's fine. I'm happy to move back. And
No, ma'am, there aren't any questions right now.
no questions. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, ma'am, could you also make me the host of the meeting?
Yeah, I'll move back into slideshow. Here we go.
I want to make me the host of the meeting. Right now, you are the host of the meeting. From participants, you can make me the host.
Sorry, I can't understand what you're saying. Are you talking to me?
Yes, I'm saying that make me the host. You are the host right now, host of the meeting.
Yeah.
Could you make me the host?
I'm not sure how to make you the host.
Okay.
Just a sec. Yeah. I can make you host. Yes.
Okay, thank you. You may continue.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at essential digital skills, or EDS. And that's the second program which is on our platform. So could you please move the slide? Because I can't move it.
No, ma'am, you have the control of the slides.
Oh yeah, it was just very slow. So I'm just going to exit the presentation, and I'm going to talk to you about the essential digital skills. Actually, no, I can move back. Here we go. Minimize that. And the Essential Digital Skills program was launched in February 2020. So it's quite recent, and it is underpinned by the new Essential Digital Skills standards from the UK government. Those standards will be replacing the existing functional skills, ICT functional skills, which were based on the 2006 standards. And as you can see, there are 5 here we go. There are 5 categories to this essential digital skills. Now it works in a different manner to the EdTech program. It's got 20 modules of half an hour each. And within each of the categories, you'll see that we've got 3 to 4 modules. And we've got 2 synoptic modules at the bottom here in white. And those 2 synoptic modules are very much focused on how to use technologies to teach essential digital skills. So they're more sort of focused on using digital devices and being online. In order to access this program, because it was funded by the DFE, so slightly different from the contextualized EdTech, this DFE was very keen on measuring the sector readiness in delivering the new essential digital skills in England. And therefore, you need to take a self-assessment to identify your skills gap between delivering the ICT functional skills and delivering the new essential digital skills. And based on your when you complete the self-assessment tool, then you get what we call an essential digital skills capability profile. And that profile will inform you and give you clear pointers on which modules you should be completing in order to fill that skills gap. And then you can see that we've got some teaching exemplars, scenarios and guides to really support you in delivering. And those activities, those resources have been rated very highly by our colleagues. And then afterwards, of course, once you've started to complete, we've got that community of practice and social learning ethos. As per with EdTech, we've got gamification built in. So even if you don't need to complete a module because you're already familiar and it hasn't identified the skills gap, we would recommend you to actually share with you, we would actually recommend you to complete the quiz at the end of that module. Why? Because the quiz score will, across one competency, will award you that badge. So unless you complete all the little quizzes at the end of each of the summative quizzes at the end of each of the modules, you will not be able to gain the badge. And once you've gained the 5 badges that you can see here, which are monochrome, I'm talking about the blue, creating and editing, using devices, being safe and responsible online, communicating and transacting. Then once you've got those 5 badges awarded to you, then you'll be able to gain automatically that sort of holistic essential digital skills badge, which carries the 5 colors. Now I'm going to exit before I talk about the community of practice, and I'll show you obviously that so that EDS program. So you're going to have loads of videos to support you. And what we've got, so you can see here a graphics and a sort of summary of, what the Essential Digital Skills program is about. And you've got 6 key elements. You will be able to see that sort of community of practice, and we'll do that in a minute. And you will be able to take that self-assessment. As I said, you will not be able to take the assessment until you are registered. And once you are registered, then you can access everything within it. And you can find out more with all kinds of videos to guide you. Now, if you are not sure what essential digital skills are about, we've got a game. It is an interactive game. It is scenario-based, and it is called Digiville. It is aimed at everyone, people who don't know anything about essential digital skills, and it's going to give you a sort of overview of what essential digital skills are about. And you're going to go into different situations where you'll need to choose what answer you should be giving to a particular question. It will measure your level of confidence and your level of competency for essential digital skills, which is nice. And it has been well rated as well. And then this is a self-assessment. You've got essentially 7 questions. We've got taxonomy, so that you can, and then you'll see that you've got little questions. You can see all the questions and options, and you should choose the competency which is the lowest that you can actually do. And you can change that, and you can see by clicking, you will be able to see different sort of statements, and you have them there. So if I was to click here, it would automatically move it back to 5. We've got 17 questions across the 5 competencies, as you can see here. And then once you've done that, then you will automatically get that sort of competency profile in essential digital skills. And then it will tell you what it is that you need to do, what modules you need to complete in order to fill your skills gap. So as you can see, it's quite a detailed feedback. And then, of course, as I mentioned, and as per our sort of EdTech program, we've got a very strong vision for fostering communities of practice. And we believe at GTF to develop a self-developing sector, a self-supporting sector. So it's very important for us not to deliver everything, but to encourage connectivity, connections, collaborations, and peer support. And I think that's one of the most wonderful things about new technologies is the fact that today I can be connected with all of you around the world and share ideas and resources. As I said, those are totally free to access. And then in terms of the community of practice, let me show you, then you're going to have, you can search, you can create a post, obviously. You can search by, we've got a word cloud. So we've got a taxonomy I mentioned with various tagging. And so if I go to ESO, which is English for non-speaking, non-mother tongue speaking learners, English speaking for other languages, I think. I can't remember what ESOL stands for, but and you can see everything, or you can just see resources that have been shared. So if I go to resources only and apply, then I'm going to be able to see here all the resources that have been shared by fellow practitioners about essential digital skills. And as you can see, it's quite a dynamic conversation taking place here. And then we've got several events that you will be able to find, and those are available here. So if you click on this and more event information, then you will be able to access our online videos and webinars. Some of them are very short and some of them are a bit longer, but for every one of them, we have generally developed what we call an index, so that you can just go to the section that is most important to you. Okay? So that's, in a nutshell, our Essential Digital Skills program. And as with EdTech, we've got the modules, and we've got an interactive framework that you're going to be able, where you're going to be able to go straight in to specific modules. As you can see, I have not taken this one. It has been rated by many practitioners, and it's rated 3.6 out of 5. You've got the aim, and you can see that we've got many ratings. So altogether, we've got over 30,000 ratings across our two programs, EdTech and Digital Skills. To navigate through it, it's very easy. You can go to EDS, and then you can choose. Alternatively, you can do what I did, which was to click on the EdTech modules here, and you've got the framework, interactive framework to work with. So let's go back to my presentation, and I've mentioned the game. I'm just checking that I haven't forgotten anything. Do you have any question on essential digital skills? Those are the skills that we all need to live, work, and study in a digital society. We need to remember that everything is moving online, and we know that in the pandemic, many of us in England, well, in the UK, 11.7 million individuals were not connected during the lockdown. And you can imagine how isolated they must have felt. So one good thing about the pandemic is that we've moved forward 5 years in terms of prediction, and that's based on the Lloyd's Digital Consumer Index, and that 67% of those who do not have the essential digital skills that they need are now ready to learn. And there's been a real shift in mindset because of that lockdown and realization of how important digital skills are, and that we have moved, if you remember those first slides, into a digital society, and that we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which is a digital revolution. Okay, so any questions? Let me have a look.
Ma'am, I have pasted a couple of questions in the chat. Could you read them?
Checking assessment platform available online for the educators. However, will I be able to take these assessments from Bangladesh? Yes, totally, you can. So you can go on the platform. Obviously, everything is based in English, so it's not accessible from that point of view, but you can take the self-assessment from Bangladesh, no problem. One thing to take into consideration is that we are no longer getting grant funding from the Department for Education, and therefore we will need to look at perhaps differentiating our sort of funding opportunities. So it is going to be free for the remaining end of the year, so definitely until the end of December 2022, we may need to start charging a small fee from the beginning of 23, but this is not, it hasn't been decided as yet. So it may very well be postponed until the next academic year, which would be from August 2023. So in the meantime, feel free to use as much as you want. And if you want to contribute to that community of practice, please do. It's so important to have that sort of diversity of experience and share of experiences. Another you can use, I will be sharing the link to the platform, to the slides after the session. So yes, Tashin, you will be getting those. Any other questions? It's nice to have questions. I'm really pleased.
No, ma'am.
No?
That is the only question. No.
Okay. I'm glad I could help on this in this instance. So there is a Jamboard activity. You're welcome. I'm going to come out. You're welcome to join the Jamboard. You've got the link in the chat. So just go back up a little bit in the thread. There aren't many questions to go back to. And then we will move into the management dashboard after this. So it's just about think about how you could create opportunities within your organization or for yourself to embed the enhanced critical reflection approach for yourself. You know, how could you use it? And I'm going to escape and go here, and hopefully you will be, so you've got on the Jamboard, as you can see, you've got a guided approach to the essential digital skills. We looked at the EdTech program, which was more a sort of immediacy mindset, micro-learning. EDS is more about a guided approach with a self-assessment and longer modules where you have summative quiz that you need to take in order to gain your badges. EdTech, when you complete a cluster of badges, then you're going to automatically gain a badge. And then you can have a longer one. And then we've got two types of communities of practice. I've mentioned that. So that's just a kind of summing up. EdTech awarded practice, where you post a reflection on the impact the training has had on your practice. How do you change your practice because of what you've learned, and then how it has impacted in turn on the learning experience of your learners. So it's going back to that sort of critical reflection. And the essential digital skills is very much about sharing resources as well in there. And I've mentioned the benefits of practice. So this is the Jamboard activity. Feel free to access. I can see that you're not feeling comfortable with it. Could be that you can't access it very easily. So feel free to do that at a later stage and use it as a kind of sort of something to trigger your reflection. And I'll be visiting it again and again. And if you post on it, I'll respond to you. So feel free to do that. So let's go back into our presentation. And the next step of our presentation is going to be the management dashboard. So I mentioned to you that the management dashboard sits behind the two CPD programs on Enhance. So if we have a look, I've got here an example of that's our sort of sandpit for the Education and Training Foundation. So whenever I give an induction on our management dashboard, then I'll use GETF dashboard. It's really good because it's going to give you a view across academic years. Obviously, if you are not sort of mapped on our academic years, so it's UK academic years, it starts at the end of July, so on the 1st of August, effectively until the end of July the following year. And then it also goes in terms of calendar years or all time. So you can go for last month or 3 months and so on. So I leave it on all times on this occasion. And then you can see here that we've got 295 modules that have been completed. And if I was to click on here, then I could see what modules have been completed, and I would be able to see who completed them as well. So obviously, I'm not going to give you, obviously we've got some GDPR issues, so we don't want to show that. But we've got 233 EdTech modules that have been completed within the staff who are registered with our dashboard within our organization. And we've got 62 EDS modules completed. I can see that 113 modules badges have been awarded, 97 in EdTech and 16 in EDS. And then you've got here 19 staff invited to share data. What does it mean to share data? When you assign, when you invite your staff within your organization to join the Enhanced Digital Teaching Platform, they may already be using it, in which case they would have to share what it is that they've already done. And alternatively, they are going to just join because you've invited them to join and said, please, please, please join so that we can really support you with your digital capabilities. But they need to agree to share their data with you. So in the UK and Europe, we've got what we call the GDPR regulations, which means that your data belongs to you, and it's for you to decide whether you are prepared to share it with other people. So when I go into my public profile, you see I've clicked on my, when I'm logged in, I can see my public profile, and then here I can share request. So if I go to this, then I am going to be able to see the request, and I'm going to be able to share my request, the request with the organization who has invited me. I'm seeing all organizations because obviously I'm an administrator on the site. And I'll be able to put in the organization and click share. And unless you do that and you tell your staff to do that, you as a provider will not be able to see your staff data unless they share it with you. So that That step is really important. Okay, so let's go back to our dashboard. And then you've got what we call a CPD planning tool, and that's a little gem. Why? Because it's going to really make your life really easy to actually manage and create personalized teaching, personalized CPD to your staff. So let's have a look at it. I'm going to click Add a Plan. You've got 3 steps, so it's very simple. The first one is to give a name to your plan. The second one is about selecting the training based on the modules that we have in EDS or EdTech. And then you need to assign it to your staff. So obviously you need to enroll your staff on the platform first. Otherwise you won't be able to assign it to anybody. So let me go back, because I didn't say what I was doing. So I'm going to go, okay, let's start. And I click on this button. Now I'm going to add in there, you can see that I've already added accessibility. I'm going to do that again because it's going to be easy for me. And then I can add a message. The message is critical. Why? Because you really want to pull people in and to take down barriers to engagement. It's about telling your colleagues what's in it for them. Why do you think that CPD will be valuable? What it is that they're going to actually learn, and how is it going to benefit them? And having that perspective is really, really important. And therefore, it's going to be important for you to talk about the vision, the mission, the values within your organization, and what the difference it's going to make. And then you're going to set a target date. So, no, I don't. Let me set a target date. So it's August 30th. Allez, up. Let's put this one in. And then in there, I'm going to say, it's always good to leave it, to give a little bit of an extension. So the target date is end of August and the first week of September as a kind of extension, just in case. And then you need to select a route. And that route will be, if you go for essential digital skills, you can click here and you can see here, you also have how long that CPD is going to be. So if you select the 4 modules within using device and handling information, each module being 30 minutes, you've got a CPD plan of 2 hours. I would recommend you not to set a CPD plan that is longer than 2 hours. It needs to be smart. It needs to be manageable. It needs to be doable. Bite size is always best. So 2 hours would probably be fine. Okay. And then alternatively, you can choose a theme. Do you remember about the narrative progression pathways? And you can choose. So you could, we said accessibility. So we could choose modules on accessibility. Actually, on there, we haven't got a setup for these particular categories, but I could very well go for collaboration between teachers. And here we've got 5 modules of 5 minutes each. Remember, EdTech, 5 minutes. EDS, half an hour. Alternatively, I could go for EdTech categories. And there we've got those accessibilities. And I could select just the exploring one as a first instance. 30 minutes, 6 modules on accessibility for people, colleagues who don't know anything about EdTech. And that's a good starting point. Alternatively, you may want them to do everything. And you can see altogether there would be 11 modules, because some of them will be about inclusion as well. And then finally, you could go with a DTPF, which is our digital teaching professional framework, and just go for that competency F which is there, and just click, and you would get 9 modules, 45 minutes. So actually, I'm going to go with Shiova. So I'm going to go for that category, and I'm going to select all 3 sections, 11, which is an hour. And then I need to go right at the bottom and save. So I've got a name, I've got key aims, objectives, what's in it for me. The modules have been selected, and you need to decide who's going to complete it. So you can differentiate CPD plans to different groups of staff, and or just add it to everyone, okay? So 19 staff within GTF would do that, or I can just go to specific members of staff. So when you set up your staff on the management dashboard, it's important to create a kind of organigram, but more based on groups. So it could be levels of achievements in digital, level of confidence, it could be per roles, it could be per curriculum areas, subject, and so on. So we could very well go for digital, and then it says EDS mentors, okay? Alternatively, because I don't want to invite everybody, I'm just going to type in a member of staff, and I'll just add my name and add it to the list. So now that training has been assigned to me, okay? So before I assign it, I want to take you back to my home page just to make sure. Oops, what did I do? I clicked on something. Let me click out. So this is my home page. You go back to your home page by clicking here. When I am on my home page, I can see continue my learning, the followers, and the communities of practice posts, latest reflections, and then you've got updates, EdTech modules, and essential digital skills modules, as well as our most popular modules, okay? Now, you can see there's no CPD plan awarded yet. If I save, now if I go back to my home page and I refresh, then I'm going to see that this has changed. And I can see here that my CPD plan is now visible. And I can see here that I've completed 7 modules out of the 11 setup. I can see the due date. And then I can see the modules that I've already completed in green, and you can see those. 2 that I have started in blue, and then 1 which I have not yet started. So it's a good guiding point. If I go back to the management dashboard as an organization, you will be able to see what it is that your staff has done. So if I go into the report here, I will be able to see what has been done. And I can see that Vicky has started, has completed 7 modules. 2 of them are in progress, and 2 modules are not started as yet. Okay, so you can see how useful this can be. Now I'm going to, sorry, let me go back to my ETF dashboard. And then I've got a community of practice, because we believe in social learning across providers to share strategies, CPD plans, different activities that you may, how you may take down barriers to engagement within your organization. And you've got a community of practice within your organization only. You'll be able to see reports in terms of modules, badges, and so on. You will be able to, sorry, let me go back here, otherwise. You'll see which modules are most completed. So if I go into collaboration, I can see where we stand across from a benchmark, nationally focused, on all the people who are using the enhanced digital teaching platform. Here you can see also whether your staff and colleagues have rated and fed back on modules. And if you see a lot of 1 star, then obviously the modules or training are not fit for purpose, or your staff doesn't and do not understand why they need to complete those and what's in it for them. So there is perhaps some resistance, or perhaps they already know it and it's not effective. So it's about that critical reflection. Yes, the training is basic, but how do you apply it within your own practice and your own context? You'll be able to see what reflections have been shared and what badges have been most earned and what most EdTech modules have been most completed. And this is true also of, let me move this away so I can navigate. It is true also of EDS. So here you've got tab for EDS and you will be able to see EDS in there. Okay? So that's the management dashboard in a nutshell. I'm conscious of time, so we need to move on. So I'm just going to do a quick recap of everything we've seen. In terms of the management dashboard, it's about the enhanced management dashboard, which is there to really strengthen your CPD framework to accelerate also your digital learning strategy within your organization. You can do a CPD plan in three easy steps. You give a name, you select the training, and you assign your staff. You're going to be able to have access to the benchmarking tool, which will tell you how you perform against a national or international profile with users of the enhanced digital teaching platform, and what's your performance against your previous year performance. You will be able to look at the most earned badges within your organization and within externally, nationally. And then you will be able to look at where you sit in terms of readiness, in terms of essential digital skills within your organization. And then, of course, you will be able to look at rating and feedback from your colleagues to really understand how your staff value the CPD programs. And then I've mentioned the communities of practice, which is a kind of social media style community of practice where we can move towards social learning. And there's a free subscription to the management dashboard until the end of December, well, 17th of December, because of the season's greetings and festivities. So as I said, we've got no intention of charging until the end of the academic year. So if you want to try it out, you're more than welcome for your organization. However, we might need to start charging from the beginning of January, although this has not been decided as yet, and we might decide to postpone until the new academic year. But the management dashboard facility will be chargeable from at the latest August 2023. Okay, so do you have any questions about the management dashboard before we move on?
No, ma'am, there aren't any
No,
questions.
no questions? Okay, cool. So now we are going to move to our conclusion, I believe. Oh, no, of course not. Not conclusion. What am I talking about? We're going to be looking at long term. Okay. Here we go. Long term, what might all organization approach to digital capability look like? And that's really what we need to think about. Well, because of the, if we go back to square one, about normality, about the digital, fourth industrial digital revolution, the fact that we are moving into a a digital world and that technologies are not going away, and that we need to develop our digital capabilities, whether they are essential digital capabilities or vocational digital capabilities specific to an industry, or specific edtech digital capabilities, which are going to be, how can I use technology to really prepare my students to work in a 21st century world? Then we need to rethink the way we operate. And I really love these power and belief systems that has been developed by Adrian Aberberg and Alison Ripoll in 2008. And this model really looks at the powers of meaning, processes, and resources within an organization. So it's important for you to take those into consideration. So first of all, let's have a look at the powers of meaning. And it is about the digital skills profile within the organization. Is it valued? Do you have dedicated communication and reward strategies in place to reward early adopters, or progress is made, commitment to CPD made by your fellow colleagues and educators within your organization? That is going to be really important in order for them to feel valued. So it's about the stories and the symbol around it, getting award, and it's about having key messages, whether your senior management team is walking the talk in some ways. So those things are going to be really important. In terms of ways of working, it's about how are meetings operated? Do you still rely on paper? Are you sending the right message to print if you're printing 20 pages instead of sharing those pages digitally prior to the meeting? So it's about all these different aspects that you need to think about. And in terms of the learners, it's also for them, do they understand the digital skills that they need for their chosen careers? Is data centralized across the organization and accessible? Do we have one place of truth? So all those things will have an important impact. So those are the power of meaning. And then, of course, we've got the power of processes. And the power of processes are about ways of working, and I've already mentioned that in the previous slide. And of course, the control systems, as well as a structural hierarchy and the contracts and relationships. So if we look at control systems, are the quality and performance system in place considering digital and digital capability within your organization? I'm thinking lesson observation. I'm thinking curriculum planning. I'm thinking curriculum intent, if it is planning, implementation, and impact. Are those control systems sort of looking at every levels of the quality processes, thinking about digital? And if you're looking at whether devices are being used during a session, you could say, yes, devices are being used, but are they used effectively? And how would you recognize that they are used effectively? It's about critical reflection from the learners and from, obviously, the teachers and trainers. Contract and relationships. It's going to be number 4 that you can see here. And contract and relationships is about recruitment, for instance, recruitment of new staffs. Are they systematically reviewing digital capability? And if they're not, do you have an induction process to help staff acquire the digital skills and capabilities that they need in order to familiarize themselves with the digital landscape of your organizations and your different pieces of software and hardware. Is digital talent managed and retained within your organization? Are the learners informed, again, of the digital skills that they will need for the future of work? And then structural hierarchy. How are digital decisions taking place? And changes, how are digital change projects managed? Those things are important. Is there a clear, visible structural hierarchy for digital in your organization? Are you empowered to drive change, whether it is in your classroom, whether it is in your team, whether it is across teams in your organization with your learners? And then, of course, we've got the power of resources. And the power of resources, you're going to find contracts and relationship again, and as well as power structure and structural hierarchy. So power of resources are really about what resources are in place to support digital capability and access. Power structure, is there a clear accountability for digital within every single team, even in the classroom? When I used to teach and when I used to work in a college, we used to have learners, e-mentors, who were there in the classroom, and their remit was to support their teachers and trainers just in time in case they had a problem with the technology. And you know, if anything goes wrong, that's it, your confidence goes away and you think, no, I don't want to use it. It's too challenging to do that in front of a group of learners. Your learners are your team and you need to work together as a team. So that aspect is really, really important. Is there a digital strategic leadership in place that aligns both teaching, learning, and assessment as well as digital? And very often, the strategies do exist, but they don't join up. So it's about joining up with strategies as well. And then, of course, is digital visible across a different stakeholders group? So think about all those elements. Are the governors of your organization able to challenge your organization digital agenda so that it can address it in a constructive manner, an effective manner? And is the digital capability CPD plan empowering staff and governors and SLT? Because SLT, if they are technophobe or if they have any sort of lack of digital capability, they may feel intimidated and want to hide that fact. So it's about really reassuring them. And we're all on a journey. It's all about making one step at a time. Okay, so the next session is going to be a Menti. So it's about us going to menti.com. You've got the link here. So the URL is www.menti.com. And when you log in, you need to use the code 6065 0191. And I'm going to leave this on the screen a little bit longer. We could add it in the chat. Actually, yes, let me move out. I'll add it in the chat so that you've got the direct link to it. And it's for us to actually look at. Here we go. Everyone. Oh, I can't send it for some reason. Not sure why. To everyone. Here we go. I don't seem to be able to post it for some reason. I can't chat with everyone in this session. So Rami, would you be able to do that? So we need to go to menti.com and menti.com, use 60650191. So if I was to do it myself, I click on here, menti.com. And in there, I'm going to pick up the code. It's easy for me, isn't it? And I paste the code. And so 60650191, and I can submit. And when I submit, you are going to be able to actually converse. It's totally anonymous, so don't feel shy, go for it. It's good to try new tools. So you just go to next and you're going to be able to say, and that's good because it's going to give us an idea of where your organization, from your perspective, you might not know about certain things, but it doesn't matter. Nobody will know that. Where it is that you stand as an organization, and you can say, just decide, or you can just skip if you want that question. Do you have a dedicated communication and reward strategies in place in your organization? Strongly disagree, strongly agree. So it's for you to decide how you are doing it. So I'll let you answer that. And when you've answered those 6 questions, you just submit. Please, please, please do it. So I'll move here so I can see whether anybody has joined, and nobody has joined us yet. Come on, guys and girls. Please do join and add your comments, because those are what you're coming to the session for. Those are about the critical factors. Yes, thank you. Okay, so well done. You've got a strong data centralized in your organization, and it's interesting that you're still using some paper, despite the fact that you've got a very strong data centralization across your organization. And I'm glad to see that digital skills are well embedded into the learner's journey. Ah, thank you. So 2 of you are responding. Excellent. And you can see that the average has moved as a result, because 1 of you are not reliant on paper. So disagree. That's good. And you're both very high up in terms of centralization. Well done. I'm impressed, and I'm so glad to see that learners are well prepared for the world of work and is walking the talk, disagree and agree. So you are at 2 extreme pole in terms of senior leadership. So if you work in a role which is an support role for digital capabilities, it's going to be important for you to build the confidence and the vision for your senior management team to walk the talk, because otherwise there's always going to be somebody to say, yeah, but they don't do it. Why should I? And it's really important that we all on a journey together, whatever step we're starting from. That's so important. So you haven't got a dedicated communication and reward strategy. Reward strategy, we've seen with learning at the beginning of the session, it's so important to build that intrinsic motivation, confidence, take down technophobia, and really get the feeling that your effort and your commitment to making to self-development is being valued by your organization. So you can set up all kinds of recognition there. Let's move to the next one. Oh, you've already started, you're moving fast, well done. So power of processes, all the quality and performance system in place considering digital. So yes, totally agree. I'd like to visit your organization, honestly. It sounds like a good place to be. Having said that, digital talent is perhaps not managed fully as yet, and it's something perhaps where you can really improve. So you've got your critical factor here to look at, and are the learners informed of the digital skills? Well done. That's excellent. And it's very clear, visible structural hierarchy for digital. Think digital not just in terms of infrastructure, it's very much across the quality process into your organization, where within every team, curriculum team or financial team and so on, you need that to be at a granular level as well. And within the classroom, within your learners, do you have perhaps not a hierarchy, but someone responsible to support others? So I used to be a graphic designer and illustrator and taught at up to level 5 in education, illustration and graphic design. And within my with my learner groups, cohorts, I always valued certain skills from my learners. So 1 or 2 learners would be really good at Photoshop or using certain tools within Photoshop, whether it's layers or image masking or whatever. And I would say to others, if you need any help with those aspects, ask Paul and Hamed. And if you need help with Illustrator in terms of vector illustration, then talk to Shahina and perhaps Yuki. And you could see that having those learners feeling valued and supporting their peers within the delivery will make a real difference. And that means that you will have the time to actually support learners on a one-to-one as well. And power of resources. Here we go. Here, it's not a question. It's cheeky of me, isn't it? It's basically it's about filling in the. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to submit. Power of processes, submit. And here you need to write a comment. So it's very much about a short answer. You can respond more than once. So you can add as many short comments as you want, but what resources are in place to support digital capability and access? So share what it is that you're doing that is good, and you're doing a lot of really good things, but also think, what is it that we could do better, and say A and B, and how could we do it better by doing a C and D? And those things will help you, and probably that sharing will also help you. So I'll move back here to see if you are posting anything, and hopefully you will. Because it will be useful to all of us. I'm conscious of time. We've got 17 minutes left. So feel free to add those comments. On the slideshow slide deck that I will be sharing with you, you will have access to the results. So you will be able to revisit those aspects at a later stage. I'll move on because I can see that you are not sharing that element of it. So let's move back to our presentation, and I'm going to go back into slideshow mode. So do you have any question on the powers of meaning, resources, and processes.
No, ma'am, I don't see it.
No, no questions. Okay, so let's move on. We're moving to the conclusion now. Hopefully we'll have time for further Q&A. So it's about, first of all, a session recap. Why is it important for us to recap? Well, you know, it's always good to recap anyway. So in this session, we first looked at what normality means, and that technology has already been with us for over 30 years. 30 years, it's quite a long time, isn't it? And we've seen that when we think in England, in the UK, in terms of the Met Office for standardization, looking at those last 30 years to create an average. So if technologies have been used for over 30 years, it is time for us to actually embed them in the way we teach and learn, and really prepare our learners to the future of work. So it is key for us really to react to that change driver, which is digital, and embrace the fourth industrial revolution. We also defined the 3 types of digital capabilities to consider as an educator. And I think we've recapped them, but I'll repeat them just once more. We're talking about essential digital skills, which are the basic digital skills we need to live, work, and study in a digital society, which is global. Secondly, it's our expertise digital skills, which are focused on industry, which are linked to our profession. And we really need to keep up to date with those because they are changing fast. And then it's about, as an educator, using education technologies or EdTech, and how can we facilitate communication? How can we flip the classroom so that instead of talking and delivering content within a session, we could deliver that content prior to the session so that we can focus on higher learning activities within the session where we can actually talk, exchange ideas, and that flipped classroom model is quite important. And on She Enhance, you will find modules which are linked to this. So those are the 3 digital capabilities for us to consider. We afterwards identified the key barriers to learning, and those are important. It's important for you if you are an educator and if you are a support digital capability, a support administrator, manager, whatever role you're in, as a digital capability leader, it's important for you to think of the hidden agenda of individuals, look at their body language, think about their eyes, their expressions. Are they comfortable? Are they crossing their arms, which would mean that they're probably less, more protective and not really ready to take in new ideas. So it's about you being aware of those hidden agenda and take down barriers to engagement by building their confidence, by recognizing that you need to work perhaps at a lower pace so that they can feel comfortable. And it's really about being constructive, supportive, at the service of our colleagues. And then I've introduced the Enhanced Digital Teaching Platform, which is totally free to everybody, wherever you are in the world, to access as an individual. And so don't hesitate. As I said, for EdTech, you won't need to register. You can just access content, but that means you won't be able to read and comment and use the social media functionalities. You won't be able to collect badges, but you will be able to access content. If you register, you will benefit from a far more personalized experience where you will have modules which will be a bit like Netflix, you know, you go on Netflix, I hope you've got it in wherever you are from, and it will tell you, well, we think you're really going to like that. You've done this module, and people who have done this module usually do this one and like this one as well, and so on. And then, so it's GEnHance, as I said, has been designed to remove barriers to engagement, and it's an ideal starting point to optimize a short-term support. So we dipped in the 2 hosted program. I've mentioned EdTech, EDS, and we also talked about the critical factors to encourage critical reflection. And if you deliver CPD plans, it's important to introduce it perhaps within a team meeting. Let's look at a module, it's 5 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever. Okay, we've watched it. How are we going to embed it in our practice? Let me know when you're going to embed it, and I'll come to your session and shadow you. So if there is a problem, I can help you. If you prefer, if you can't be everywhere at all times, let's convene next week and we can share our experience of embedding that 5-minute bit of training 100% within our practice and learning context, and discuss what worked well and why, what didn't work so well and why not, what is it that you would like to do next time, and how did your learners actually react to that new pedagogic approach. So it's about redefining pedagogic approaches, isn't it? So we also walked you through the backend management dashboard, and the backend management dashboard is designed to support education providers to really accelerate your digital learning strategy or shared digital learning strategy. And finally, we looked at how to drive long-term digital transformation with the Power and Belief Systems model developed by Adrian Aberberg and Alison Ripple, examining the 3 powers, meaning, resources, and processes. That's a wonderful sort of model, very useful in all kinds of circumstances if you're trying to drive change. And then it was about really the full session was really about encouraging us to change the way we operate. And it's about us with critical reflection about reviewing many aspects of our business operations. And not only from top to bottom, but also from bottom to top and horizontally. It's about looking at the talent, the organizational structure, the operating model, the study programs, the services, and so on. Harnessing technologies, you know, I mean, driving digital transformation, digital capability is not only about hard changes, it's also about soft changes. So cultural aspects are so important. Harnessing technologies will enable us as individuals and providers to really streamline processes, become far more agile, share effective practices across our circles and the education sector, and really upskill ourselves and colleagues in a way that is both time and cost effective. And that's the beauty, because we know that change is going to accelerate, and therefore together we can be so much more effective. So one thing that I would recommend and encourage every individual and education institution is to build a culture of growth mindset and lifelong learning, while making sure that the processes and structures within the organization support the delivery of the ethos. And then finally, I'm going to leave you on this beautiful quote by Maya Angelou, which is about us. If we always try to be normal, we will never know how amazing we can be. So let's forget about normality. Normality doesn't mean anything. It's embracing change, embracing the world in which we live, and the connectivity that those technologies are bringing us. Digital is empowering. It is empowering for all of us. And it's important for us to really make the most of it. Now, I mentioned critical reflection. So it's important for us to also think, digest what this session, and we will have the recording later, so I'll be able to review things for myself as well. And you've got some questions here to help you with critical factors and what might a whole organization approach to digital capability look like. So a few questions to help you reflect and guide you and so on. So it's about, am I empowering teaching staff to redefine their pedagogic approach and to make best use of EdTech and new technologies? Are the managers and teams up to date with their 21st century specific industry practice? So those are just vocational digital skills. How could I raise the profile of digital within my organization? So think communication strategies, symbols, messages, and awards as well. How could I raise the profile of digital within my organization? Do we have digital alignment? Do you remember, from the board through the executive team and across the whole organization, because it's important to drive change? And then, how far has my organization already traveled? And in your case, in the two cases that we've seen, you've moved quite a long way already in terms of centralization of data and really supporting learners to embrace their digital skills and capabilities. How can I take it forward? What could you do more? It's about stretch and challenge, isn't it? And who do I need to get involved? So it's important to identify perhaps early adopters, to encourage those who are making progress, or those who are really sort of resistant, to give them that extra support, to really understand their hidden agenda so that you can make them move one step at a time, And how will I recognize success? Well, success will be different. It depends. It can be qualitative, it can be quantitative. But if you're looking at digital transformation, it's definitely going to be something which is qualitative. It's culture. Otherwise, change won't be sustainable. So that's it. This is my name. You've got my email address. I'm on Twitter. I tweet regularly. If you follow me, I'll follow you back. And you've got loads of resources on there. And I'll share, as I said, this slide deck with you post-session. So I'm going to stop sharing now and see whether you have any questions. No questions? Okay.
Yes.
Well, it was a pleasure to be with you today. I hope that you enjoyed the session, and only a few of you were actually attending, but hopefully more of you will be sharing, viewing this recording post the session. And that's the beauty of digital, isn't it? You don't have to be there on the spot. You can come back and revisit. So goodbye, and hopefully we'll stay in touch either on LinkedIn, Twitter, or other medias. Goodbye.